Sophie, come here, girl. My mother-in-law, Diana's voice rang out across her backyard, sugary sweet as she beckoned her German shepherd. The moment the dog saw me standing by the patio door, her tail dropped and a low growl rumbled in her throat. "Oh dear," Diana said with mock concern. "Sophie must send something off about you, Olivia. Dogs have excellent intuition, you know." I watched as she slipped Sophie another treat, just like she'd been doing for months every time the dog showed aggression toward me. "My name is Olivia Chen, and for the past year, I've been watching my mother-in-law systematically train her once friendly German shepherd to see me as a threat. The irony? I'm a professional dog trainer with 15 years of experience." "Maybe she's just hungry," I replied calmly, pretending not to notice Diana's smirk. Sophie's ears were pulled back, her posture tense, textbook trained aggression behavior. This wasn't natural fear or protective instinct. This was carefully cultivated hostility. "Well, you should probably stay away then," Diana said, patting Sophie's head. "We wouldn't want any accidents." I caught the threat in her words, saw the gleam in her eyes. Ever since her son, Michael, and I got married 2 years ago, Diana had been trying to drive me away. The dog was just her latest weapon. What she didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything, every training session when she thought no one was watching, every treat given to reinforce aggressive behavior, every command whispered to Sophie when she thought I couldn't hear. The security cameras I'd installed around our house, with Michael's full knowledge and support, caught it all. Diana had no idea they existed, just like she had no idea that I spent my early mornings working with Sophie when she left for her daily tennis matches. "I should head inside," I said, turning toward the house. "Michael will be home soon." "Yes, better safe than sorry," Diana called after me. Sophie gets so protective of her family. I closed the door behind me, letting out a long breath. Michael was actually working late tonight, something Diana knew well. She'd been making more surprise visits lately, always with Sophie in tow, always when she knew my husband wouldn't be home. Pulling out my phone, I texted Michael. "Your mom's here again with Sophie. Same routine." His response was immediate. "Got it all on camera? We need to be sure before we do anything." I smiled, thinking of the folder on my laptop labeled Project Sophie, 6 months of documented evidence, videos, vet reports confirming Sophie's dramatic behavioral changes, consultations with other trainers and animal behaviorists. Diana had chosen the wrong daughter-in-law to mess with. That evening, after Diana finally left, I sat at our kitchen island reviewing the latest footage. The cameras had caught her in the backyard an hour before I got home, practicing what she called Sophie's special commands. My stomach turned as I watched her deliberately agitate the dog while showing her my photo. "Good girl," Diana's voice crackled through the speakers. "Remember who the bad one is. Remember who we need to protect Michael from." I thought about Sophie, the sweet-tempered dog I first met 2 years ago. She used to greet me with a wagging tail and excited kisses. Now she trembled with manufactured fear and aggression whenever I came near. What Diana was doing wasn't just cruel to me, it was abuse of an innocent animal. My phone buzzed with another text from Michael. "Mom just called, says Sophie sensed something dark about you again. Says we should be concerned." I typed back, "Time to move forward with the plan." 3 dots appeared, then, "Yes. I'll call Dr. Martinez tomorrow. Document everything one more week, then we act." Setting down my phone, I walked to the window. The security light illuminated our empty backyard, and I could hear Sophie barking in the distance at Diana's house next door. The sound was different now, stressed, anxious, nothing like her old happy bark. "Just one more week," I whispered, pressing my hand against the cool glass. Diana thought she was being clever, thought she was protecting her son from the woman who'd stolen him. She had no idea she was about to learn a harsh lesson about consequences. I pulled up the latest vet report on my laptop. Dr. Martinez had documented Sophie's increasing anxiety levels, the physical symptoms of stress, the behavioral changes consistent with negative reinforcement training. All of it pointed to the deliberate manipulation of the dog's natural temperament. Opening my Project Sophie folder, I added today's footage to the growing collection. One day soon, Diana would realize that in her attempt to use Sophie as a weapon against me, she'd given me everything I needed to prove exactly what kind of person she really was. And Sophie, she would finally get the help she needed to become herself again. I closed my laptop and headed upstairs to bed. leaving one security camera's light blinking steadily in the darkness. Just one more week of watching, waiting, and documenting. Then Diana would learn that sometimes the most dangerous person isn't the one you're trying to hurt. It's the one who knows exactly how to prove what you've done. A week passed, filled with more of Diana's surprise visits and Sophie's increasingly concerning behavior. Each incident was meticulously documented, each interaction captured from multiple angles. On Sunday evening, everything changed. I was in our backyard, reviewing security camera footage on my tablet, when I heard Diana's familiar voice from her side of the fence. "Sophie, look who's there. Get her, protect us." The German Shepherd launched herself at the fence, snarling and barking with a ferocity that made my heart ache. This wasn't the same dog who used to share my lunch breaks and curl up at my feet during movie nights. "She really doesn't like you, does she?" Diana appeared at the fence gate, pleasure evident in her voice. "Maybe she's trying to tell us something." Before I could respond, Sophie broke free from Diana's loose grip on her collar. The gate wasn't properly latched. Knowing Diana, this was intentional. The dog charged into our yard, teeth bared. But instead of running, I stood my ground and spoke firmly. "Sophie, higher." The German Shepherd skidded to a halt, her aggressive posture melting away instantly. Her ears perked up at the familiar command, one we practiced countless times during our early morning sessions. "Plats," I commanded gently. Sophie immediately dropped into a down position, her tail wagging slightly. Diana's face contorted with shock and rage. "What did you do to my dog?" I pulled out my phone and press record, capturing her reaction. "I didn't do anything to Sophie. I just helped her remember who she really is." "Sophie, come," Diana shouted. The dog looked at her but didn't move, clearly conflicted between her recent training and her natural temperament. "You see, Diana," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I've been working with Sophie every morning while you're at tennis. Not teaching her aggression or fear, but helping her overcome what you've done to her." "You had no right." Diana spat, her carefully maintained composure cracking. "Actually, I had every right. As a certified dog trainer, I'm obligated to report animal abuse, including deliberately training a dog to be aggressive." I pulled up the footage on my tablet and turned it toward her. The screen showed her in her backyard, deliberately agitating Sophie while showing her my photos, rewarding aggressive behavior, and giving commands designed to trigger hostility. "I have months of this," I continued, plus vet reports documenting Sophie's declining mental health, consultations with animal behaviorists, and testimony from other trainers who've reviewed the footage. Diana's face went pale. "You've been spying on me?" "No, I've been protecting myself and Sophie. Dr. Martinez is expecting us tomorrow morning. She's already reviewed everything and agrees that Sophie needs to be removed from your care." "You can't do this," Diana hissed. "Michael will never allow it." Actually, Michael's voice came from behind me as he stepped out of the house. "I'm the one who installed the security cameras. I've watched you try to turn our family dog into a weapon against my wife. It stops now." Sophie's tail started wagging faster at Michael's appearance. He'd been part of our early morning training sessions too, helping to reinforce positive behaviors and counteract his mother's influence. "You chose the wrong person to target, Mom," Michael continued. "Olivia isn't just my wife. She's one of the most respected dog trainers in the state. Did you really think she wouldn't notice what you were doing to Sophie, wouldn't know exactly how to document it?" Diana's composure crumbled completely. "I was protecting you. She's not good enough for you, she never was." "Sophie, calm," I called softly. The German Shepherd trotted over to me, pressing against my leg like she used to do before Diana's interference. I scratched behind her ears, feeling her relax under my touch. "The police and animal control have copies of everything," Michael said. "They'll be here tomorrow with Dr. Martinez. Sophie will be placed in a rehabilitation program, and you'll be charged with animal abuse." Diana stared at her son, then at me, then at Sophie, happily accepting treats from my hand. All her careful plans, all her manipulations had fallen apart because she had underestimated exactly who she was dealing with. Without another word, she turned and fled back to her house, leaving the gate swinging behind her. I knelt beside Sophie, checking her over carefully. Despite Diana's training, the sweet, gentle dog I first met was still in there. With time and proper rehabilitation, she would recover. You did good, Michael said, joining us in the yard. Both of you. I nodded, watching Sophie's tail wag as she looked between us. Tomorrow would bring charges and consequences, but for now, this was enough. Seeing Sophie free from Diana's influence, knowing that the truth had finally come to light. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. The following weeks brought dramatic changes for everyone involved. The morning after Diana's confrontation, Dr. Martinez arrived with animal control officers and the police. Diana barricaded herself in her house, refusing to answer the door until the officers made it clear they had a warrant. "This is ridiculous," she screamed as they led her out. "I was training my own dog. You can't arrest me for that." But they could, and they did. The evidence was overwhelming. Hours of video footage, detailed vet reports, and expert testimonies from multiple animal behaviorists. Diana had systematically abused Sophie, turning a beloved family pet into a weapon. In most states, that's a serious offense. I stood with Michael in our backyard, watching as Sophie was gently loaded into Dr. Martinez's vehicle. She would spend the next few months at a specialized rehabilitation center, recovering from the psychological damage Diana had inflicted. "She'll be okay," Dr. Martinez assured us. "Dogs are remarkably resilient, and Sophie has a strong foundation of positive training to fall back on, thanks to Olivia." News of Diana's arrest spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some neighbors came forward with their own stories. They had witnessed her training sessions, but hadn't known how to intervene. Others shared security camera footage of Diana deliberately agitating Sophie near their properties. "I can't believe she did this," Michael said one evening as we sat on our patio. "My own mother, deliberately trying to turn our dog into a threat." I squeezed his hand. "She never thought she'd get caught. People like that rarely do." The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Diana's actions were clearly documented, and her attempts to justify them only made things worse. "I was protecting my son," she declared in court. But the judge wasn't sympathetic. "Mrs. Harrison," he said sternly, "you deliberately abused an animal and created a potentially dangerous situation. Your misguided attempts to interfere with your son's marriage do not justify these actions." Diana was sentenced to probation, mandatory counseling, and a lifetime ban on pet ownership. She was also ordered to pay for Sophie's rehabilitation and ongoing care. But the real punishment, at least for her, was the damage to her reputation. Healing takes time. 3 months into Sophie's rehabilitation, we received wonderful news. Dr. Martinez called to say Sophie was ready for supervised visits. The moment we walked into the center, Sophie's tail started wagging. There was no fear, no aggression, just pure joy as she recognized us. She bounded over, covering us in kisses. "She's made remarkable progress," Dr. Martinez said, smiling at the reunion. "The negative training has been largely overwritten. She's back to her natural, gentle temperament." Watching Sophie play in the center's yard, chasing balls and interacting happily with other dogs, brought tears to my eyes. This was who she was meant to be, not a weapon, but a loving, trusting companion. After 2 more months of rehabilitation and supervised visits, Sophie was finally cleared to come home. The day we brought her back, she ran straight to her favorite spot on the couch, grabbed her old toy, and settled in like she'd never left. Diana, meanwhile, had moved across the state to live with her sister. She still tried to contact Michael occasionally, always with the same justifications and excuses. He remained firm in his decision to maintain distance. "She needs to understand there are consequences," he said. "What she did to Sophie, what she tried to do to you, that's not love, that's control." Full circle, 1 year after everything happened, we received an unexpected letter from Diana's counselor. With Diana's permission, she shared that they had been working through the underlying issues that led to her behavior. "Your mother is beginning to understand the harm she caused," the counselor wrote. "She has a long way to go, but she's making progress." We decided to send a brief response through the counselor, including a recent photo of Sophie playing in our yard. Not to hurt Diana, but to show her what healing looks like. Today, Sophie is a certified therapy dog, working with children who have experienced trauma. The dog Diana tried to turn into a weapon now helps heal emotional wounds. Sometimes life has a way of coming full circle. As I watch Sophie gently napping in the sunlight, her paw twitching as she dreams, I think about how different things could have been If we hadn't documented everything, if we hadn't been patient, if we hadn't put Sophie's well-being first. You know what they say, Michael often reminds me, karma has a way of working things out. But I prefer to think it's not about karma. It's about standing up to abuse, protecting the innocent, and having the patience to let the truth reveal itself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's making sure that love wins in the end. Sophie lifts her head and wags her tail as I scratch behind her ears. In her eyes, I see no trace of the fear and aggression Diana tried to instill. Instead, I see trust, love, and the unshakable bond that comes from healing together. That's the real victory, not Diana's downfall, but Sophie's resurrection. And in the end, that's worth more than any revenge could ever be.